That's what I was, that guy
Oh,
getting
here we
off
go.
the plane in some tarmac in Afghanistan or something.
We're,
All right,
we're
Seth,
live
we're
now.
live, buddy.
We're live.
All right, got it.
We're live, Delegate Chi.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you for your patience, colleagues. Really appreciate it. All right, let me start. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Delegate Lily Chi, Chair of the Business Regulation Subcommittee. Today is Friday, February 24th. I want to welcome everyone to our first work session. We have 3 bills on our agenda today, and I'm going to switch the order a little bit. We're going to take up House Bill 72 first because Delegate Watson has another engagement and she has kindly joined us to discuss her bill. And then we will talk about House Bill 349, which is about Maryland Fair Scheduling Act. And then finally, House Bill 17, which will actually hold today. So we really only have 2 bills on the agenda. So let's start with House Bill 72, Business Regulation Charitable Contributions. I think that there is an amendment, but I'm going to turn it over to our staff counsel to explain the bill, and then I'll take some questions.
All right, thank you, Delegate Chi. So House Bill 72, it's Business Regulation Charitable Contribution Definition. This is from Delegate Watson, and the bill, as introduced, alters the definition of charitable contribution to exclude a donation of property that is intended to be given away by charity and an authorization for the use of services or materials, equipment, or facilities, including those related to advertisement. So there is one amendment to the bill, and the amendment authorizes the Secretary of State to accept in the place of an audit or review supporting documents and affidavits attesting that the charitable organization meets certain criteria.
Move the amendment. Oh,
That's the amendment.
yep.
Okay, any questions? We have, okay, I see. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair, but I see Delegate Pippi has a question.
I can wait until there's a second and then I can have it during the discussion if that's all right.
Second the amendment.
And
Do you have
Delegate,
a question for the amendment, or Delegate Pippi, do you have a question for the amendment or the bill?
well, I
itself?
just, it was kind of, I mean, what's the purpose of the bill? And I apologize for Delegate Watson. Just
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the question. It's it seems more complicated than it is, but what we set out to do was provide a waiver in the law for very small charitable organizations that are mostly doing work in property, redistribution of property. The guy that came to testify in front of you collects bikes and redistributes them. But when they follow the GAAP accounting principles, they must include the value of the property in revenue. And that then makes them hit the level that the state sets to provide a financial audit. When really the state is more concerned about cash than they are about property. But because they're now following these new accounting rules, they have to include the property in the definition of revenue. So we originally sought to remove that from the definition, but the Secretary of State's office came back and said, no, let's not do it that way. Let's do it this way. So they have provided a waiver if the nonprofit meets these criteria. And, you know, it has to be receiving donations of property that are intended to be redistributed to individuals residing in Maryland. It has to not have a fundraising employee or a solicitor. It has to be using GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. And it has to have cash receipts from charitable contributions that are 20% or less of the charity's gross income. So any charity that has 20% or less cash would be able to take advantage of this waiver. And the bottom line is the state still retains the right to ask for an audit if it thinks it needs an audit for any charity, even one that meets this requirement.
so my only just quick follow-up and I'll stop is just, so this changes does it change the definition of a charitable donation?
No, because it strikes that. So it does not change the definition. Instead, the amendment inserts this language to accomplish the same thing without changing the definition.
Okay, okay.
In fact, the title of the bill has been changed to charitable organizations instead of definition for the donation. Yeah, it's part of the amendment. Any other questions?
Yeah, so the amendments resolve some of the concern. There was some, I don't know if opposition, but there were some questions in the bill hearing. So that this is a response to
Yes.
those.
The amendment was actually written by the Secretary of State's office in order to accomplish what we were trying to do. So yes, they are in agreement with this approach.
And there's no concerns with, Madam Chair, I'm sorry, I went out of turn. Yeah. Yeah, so the questions that relate to charitable contributions, this doesn't limit or
No,
stop someone that is currently a charitable organization from making or receiving. Okay.
No.
So my memory of this bill was there was some opposition. Your amendment resolves the maybe not opposition, but the concerns that were brought forward.
correct.
More of a
So I did-
concern than opposition.
So I did second that amendment.
Not hearing.
Say that again, please, Madam Chair.
Delegate Queen,
Oh, okay.
you
Wasn't
have
sure.
your hand up? Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, I wasn't sure. I couldn't hear you. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I think I've had two questions, but I think one of them may have been answered. So can you go back again, sponsor of the bill, Delegate Watson? What is the problem we're trying to fix? And then two, with this change, you said that the Maryland Secretary of State was in agreement. They wrote this. Do we have anything, any informational letter or anything to say we're all in agreement with that?
No, but they did come to the hearing and say they were in agreement with the amendment that was being drafted. They were not, in general, at the time we did this, allowed to formally take a position on any bills. But I assure you, we worked with them and they provided this language and they are fine with this version of the bill. So again, the problem it's trying to solve is we have some really important nonprofits that are doing great work across Maryland, that their revenues are mostly taking in property and redistributed. So another example would be a food bank. There are examples of nonprofits that build beds for kids. This example that you heard is from a guy who takes in bikes and redistributes them. So mostly they're dealing in property, and now that is defined as revenue. So it makes them meet that threshold for an audit a lot faster than it used to. And so right now the state requires an audit at $750,000 of revenue. That makes sense. But if 80% of that is used bikes, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to make a charity go through that and spend $25,000 doing an audit when their revenue might only be $25,000 or $50,000. So this only applies very specifically to small nonprofits, small charities that are property based in Maryland, distributing to Maryland.
Does
It's
that
a
answer your question?
It's a nonprofit friendly bill for small nonprofits.
Okay, thank you.
Mostly for like a pass-through kind of donations.
Right,
Not the
exactly.
donations, right, not donations they can use to build an organization or hire people or anything like that, right? Delegate Pippi, you have a question?
Yeah, so Goodwill, for example, there's one in Frederick where they take like washing machines and they take all sorts of stuff that they ultimately resell and distribute proceeds. So this bill would help them not to have an audit against their organization because the majority of the stuff that they take in is property.
Goodwill's not a good example because they resell things. And so
Okay.
this is only for nonprofits that are bringing in property and giving it away.
Okay.
So think about a food bank, they're bringing in food and giving it
Like
away.
backpacks. People that donate
Backpacks.
backpacks filled with stuff
Yes.
and then they give that to kids.
Yes, that's a good example.
So this is a deregulation bill.
Yes,
Okay.
Yes,
You should-
I should have
you
said
should-
that from the beginning.
You should have started with that, and then you wouldn't have had any questions from us. Okay, thank you.
Great discussion. Well, I just want to say that last night I happened to have a chance to chat with the Secretary of State, former Senator Susan Lee, and she said their initial concern was the potential fraud of some nonprofits would take advantage of that and not have to go through audits. But I think with this amendment, it clarifies, it more than clarifies, and it puts in a lot of guardrail. And it is a very clear threshold of what counts as a small nonprofit. So an example like Goodwill, just in its sheer size, it wouldn't have qualified. If there are.
We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Let me lean in a little bit more to the mic. If there are no more questions, we already have a motion to move with the amendment. I would like to take a vote on the amendment.
All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, Delegate Adams?
Aye.
Okay, Delegate Boafo?
Aye.
Crosby?
Aye.
Howard?
Aye.
Hippie?
Aye.
Queen?
Yes.
Valderrama?
Aye.
Wyval?
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
And I vote yes.
we're good.
Great. All
Move the
right.
bill as amended.
Second.
As amended is moved and seconded. Let's take a vote on that. Oh, any questions? I'm sorry, should have asked. Because the amended bill is pretty much the bill now, so. That's right, yeah. So any questions on the bill itself? Okay, all right, Council, let's take
Okay.
the vote.
Delegate Adams?
Aye.
Boafo?
Aye.
Crosby?
Aye.
Howard?
Aye.
Hippie?
Aye.
Queen?
Yes.
Valderrama?
Aye.
Wyval?
Aye.
Delegate Chi?
And the chair votes yes, thank you. And that concludes our vote on Bill HB.
Thank you.
72. Yeah. Thank you so much. I was going to thank Delegate Watson. Okay, the next we have House Bill 349, which is the Maryland Fair Scheduling Act. Let's see, where did I lose? Oh, is that Erica? You're going to explain the bill, or is that Tiffany? I lost her on the screen.
No, that would be me. It looks like Delegate
Great.
Crosby has something he wants to say.
Oh, sorry.
No, I think,
Mr. Vice Chair, do you have something to say?
Madam Chair, I just think that, I think procedurally, Erica has to explain the bill first, and then we can talk about it. Sorry.
That's not a problem. So House Bill 349 deals with generally requiring specified restaurants and retail stores to pay an employee for a minimum number of hours when reporting to work for a shift that subsequently has its hours reduced. An employer also must generally pay an employee for on-call shifts when the employer does not require the employee to report to work. There are no amendments for this bill.
I apologize. I got mixed up myself because I meant to say House Bill 17, but since we have this bill up, I just want to explain that we actually intend to hold this bill, as I mentioned at the top of the meeting. So
moved.
Second.
I don't think we need a motion or anything. We just hold it. We can go on to the next one, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
all right,
So,
thank you. House Bill 17, please.
Exactly. House Bill 17, Employment Standards, Retail Establishments, Seating for Employees. This bill requires specified retail establishment employers to provide suitable seats for employees if the nature of their work can be reasonably performed while seated. Additionally, such employers may not design workspaces at new or majorly renovated facilities that require employees to stand if the workspaces could be reasonably designed to allow for work to be performed while seated. There are no amendments on this bill.
Let's see, Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just not sure there are any cases where somebody requested a chair and wasn't provided a chair in any workplace. And do we have any complaints regarding that?
I don't believe there were any specified complaints that were discussed at the hearing.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd like to,
Yeah, so the bill, if somebody does get a complaint, the Commissioner of Labor and Industry has to determine what is reasonable as far as making an accommodation, whether that employer was reasonable. So in many cases, I think that just makes the bill unworkable unless we plan on broadly expanding and including what the definition is. Plus, I brought this up in the hearing that ADA already resolves these sort of issues about making reasonable accommodations. And I thought the sponsor's explanation fell a little flat, that ADA is not enough and not strong enough to make these sort of protections. And the last thing is, this bill appears to grant class action lawsuits for such things. And you might expect I would be against a bill that creates that kind of legal precedent setting policy. So that's my 2 cents on this one.
Move unfavorable.
Second.
Madam Chair, you're not on speaker, you're on mute.
You guys hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. Sorry about that. So we have a motion to move unfavorable. It's being seconded. Any more questions before we take a vote? Okay. All right. Council, we're ready.
Yes, Delegate Adams,
Yes to the unfavorable.
Delegate Boafo,
Aye.
Delegate Crosby,
Aye.
Delegate Howard,
Aye.
Delegate Pippi,
Aye.
Delegate Queen,
Yes.
Delegate Valderrama,
Aye.
Delegate Weigel,
Aye.
and Delegate Chi.
Aye. All
Thank
right.
you.
The bill is voted unfavorable. Thank you, Council. That actually concludes our first work session. Stay tuned for further announcements of more bills coming to our subcommittee. I want to thank you, the great staff, for their support and good work as always. And thank you for all of you and for your indulgence about the technical hiccup. It won't happen again next time.
That's
Thank
okay.
you, and have a great weekend.
You
everyone.
too.
Great
Have a
weekend,
great
everybody.
Yeah, everyone be
everybody.
safe.
See ya.